Hello again, it's Lucy Pedder here of the Doula Lucy. I'm bringing you another sling video today. This time we're going to be looking at ring slings and how to carry a newborn, a slightly older baby, and also how to put a sleeping baby into a ring sling. Really useful skill to have. So enjoy. Hello. So today we're talking about ring slings. Now, this is arguably the simplest and also the most versatile way to carry your baby. And I'm going to be honest with you, my second child, I have two, my second child lived in a ring sling from birth all the way through to the toddler years. And my kid was big. So a ring sling consists of one long piece of woven fabric, so it won't be stretchy in either direction. It's a woven fabric, not a stretchy fabric. And at one end are these sewn in rings, and you should have two rings at one end. So once you've threaded your ring sling, you'll find that you can take it on and off and you don't have to keep doing it. But a lot of people get a bit overwhelmed and a bit confused at the beginning with how to thread their ring sling. So we're going to start there. So your sling may have a front and a back, and you know what, it doesn't really matter. Mine has a seam across here, so I'm going to assume that that's the back side, but it really doesn't matter. And what you're going to do is place the sling so that the rings are over one shoulder. Now, if you have a very young newborn baby, you may be wanting to carry your baby right at the front of your body, in which case it doesn't matter which side the rings go on. If you're wanting a slightly more offside carry, so maybe you have an older child who wants to be facing a bit more forward, or who's just a bit big and bulky and you want them slightly off to the side, then you want the ring on the opposite shoulder to where your baby's going to end up. Okay, so we're going to spread the fabric across our shoulder, and reaching behind you, just find that top edge of fabric and bring it round. So this will stay, you can let go. My sling is rainbow. Now what that means is that I know that this yellow top edge corresponds to this top part, which is closest to my neck, and this green edge down here corresponds to this bottom edge, which is down my arm. If you have a sling which is one block colour, that's fine. You can still tell that you haven't got it twisted by giving it a tug. So I can feel the tension here at the top when I pull here, and when I pull on my bottom green edge here, I can feel the tension here. So we're going to thread our sling, and it's really important that the fabric doesn't get twisted. So I find the easiest way to do this is to simply gather the fabric in front of you so that you have the top edge still on the top and the bottom edge still on the bottom. And then we're going to pass that little bundle of fabric up through both rings and then pull it through so that the sling is forming a pouch more or less at the right height for your baby. So you need to be thinking, how big is my baby? Where is my baby's bottom going to land on my body? That's where we want this bottom edge to be. And then just have a little faff with your fabric. Make sure that you're not twisted. So I still want my yellow edge on here, on this side, and my green edge on that side. And then what I'm going to do is gather my fabric again, making sure I'm not twisting all the way down to the end, lift the top ring and pass the fabric down through just the bottom ring. And just being a little bit careful as I pull it through. So if you stop at this point when it's still a bit poofy and just use your thumb to work through the fabric, just making sure that we are not twisted. So hopefully you can see that I still have yellow, 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 and green, 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 and green. This is where a stripy fabric is so beneficial. If you don't have a stripy fabric, you can still work this out. It's okay. So making sure that our rings are staying relatively high on our shoulder and not coming down as we manipulate the sling, I'm just going to pull my fabric through so that it's gathered but not crossed, not twisted. And the reason for that is that this fabric is going to slide beautifully across these rings.
it's not going to slide so well over itself. Fabric on fabric creates friction, which is really useful for keeping slings where we want them to be. But in this case, we need this to be our tightening system and we need it to work smoothly. So once you have got yourself into this situation where your sling is creating a pouch in front of you, nothing's twisted, you don't need to do that anymore. You can take your sling off, shove it in your bag, and then when you want to put your sling back on, you simply open it out so that the rings are in front of you, hold on to the rings, and you just go in. So arm, head, and over your shoulder to land back here. And then just have a quick check to make sure that nothing's twisted. And that's how your sling can come in and out of your bag, and your baby can come on and off really, really quickly and easily. You can even put this sling on over a sleeping child, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So I'm going to show you 2 different positions to hold your baby in with my 2 different dolls. So first of all, let's assume that we've got a newborn. Now, my newborn baby is smaller than my other dolls, so I just want to make sure that this bottom edge is a little bit higher. So I'm going to do that by finding my green edge here and just pulling that through to tighten slightly. So I'm raising that bottom edge, and I've actually already created a pouch for my baby to be in. And this green edge is tight to my body, not very tight, but tighter to my body. Still plenty of slack up here for adjusting. Now I'm going to raise the ring right up on my shoulder. That's not where I want it to end up, but they always come down slightly when you're tightening. So start it really, really high. And I'm going to get my baby. So we're going to hold our baby high up on the shoulder opposite the ring, on the free shoulder. And remember, we're always supporting for gravity and flop. And the sling is going to take gravity first and then flop. So I'm going to hold my baby high, and I'm going to use my hand underneath the sling to gather my baby's legs and bring him down in front of me so that he is sitting on the entire fabric of the sling. I'm not spreading the fabric yet. This is my baby's gravity support. And in a moment, I'm going to raise the fabric for flop. Okay, so our babies need to be high on our chest, close enough to kiss, ideally on harder landscaping, not so much on the softer landscaping. Babies like to have their hands up. Remember, a newborn baby is likely to have their hands up anyway. And before we spread the fabric, we need to think about leg position. So in order to support our baby's curved C-shaped spine, we need their knees to be at least level with, if not higher than, their bottom. And what that's going to do is enable our baby to have a really nice pelvic tuck, which means that they're going to be able to keep their head off their chest because their pelvis is rounded underneath. So I'm going to raise just enough fabric up here, up to the nape of my baby's neck, maybe a little higher and back down, but I don't want the fabric all the way up here. So that the majority of the fabric is down here, and I can actually take my green edge and tuck it up slightly between me and my baby. So I'm still holding tight. The sling does not have my baby's weight at the moment. I'm still holding. But what I'm going to do is move all of the slack towards the rings so that I can feel the fabric is tight around my body. And now I'm going to begin to tighten. So let's start with this because it's a really obvious floppy. So the way this works is that we need to be pulling the fabric through the rings parallel to where it's come from. So think of this as the rays of a sun. So this yellow edge, I don't want to pull it down and I don't want to pull it away. I want to pull it across this way. And what will happen is all of this slack will disappear through the rings. And I'm actually going to work my way through the fabric, just tightening in the direction of pull. So we're ending up with a situation where the fabric is nice and high underneath my baby's bottom. So that's this green edge here. And I want to pull that down, and then nice and snug across my baby's back. So find where the slack is. So I've got a little bit of slack here. So I'm going to find the same colour over here and pull through. And eventually we get to a situation where you can let go. You're feeling more confident to let go. So here we have my baby, nice and snuggly buggly. Knees high, so we've got knee to knee support. Now your baby's legs may be up here or they may be down here. That's fine, as long as your baby is sitting in a pouch of fabric. So my green edge is tighter effectively than this pinky bit here. So I always do my checks. First of all, do I feel like I can let go? Do I feel secure? Does my baby feel supported for gravity and flop? Now bear in mind, with one cross pass here, you're not going to have as much head support as you do with some other slings. So if I lean forward, I'm going to need to support my baby's head if they're very, very young. Slightly older babies, obviously not so much. But I feel okay, I feel hands-free. We're going to be thinking about our baby's safety. So can I see my baby's face? Is their head clear? We don't want the sling any higher than the nape of the neck. Do we have nice smooth fabric down across the back? A few wrinkles are fine, but what you want to find is that about half the fabric is under your baby, supporting for gravity, and then one smooth layer is up the back, supporting for flop. Has my baby got a nice pelvic tuck? You can go in and have a little shimmy to make sure that your baby's pelvis is tucked under, because that means their head can come up. Remember, if your baby's sticking their bottom out like that, then their head will drop. So it's about keeping their airway secure. Is my baby supported knee to knee? It doesn't matter if this leg is slightly asymmetrical compared to this one. That's completely fine. When we hold our babies close on our chest, we're not worrying about symmetry, are we? We just want our baby's back to be fully and closely supported. And then think about yourself. Are you comfortable? Many people find that the fabric bunches in their neck and starts to dig in, but you can see that actually I've got some slack here. It's not uncomfortable. The pressure is actually across the point of my shoulder and then spread really evenly across my back. Some people might find that they want to come in here and pull this fabric down a bit to make themselves more comfortable. You can pull it further down here. That will trap your arm more, which is one of the disadvantages, of course, of a ring sling. Or you can flip the fabric to give yourself a little bit more maneuverability, whatever you prefer. So the thing with a ring sling, you should have one arm slightly trapped and the other one completely free. That's just a feature of these slings. To get your baby out of this sling, we're going to reverse the process. So hold your baby. We never want flying babies. We never want to have to trust our babies to hang on or to not fall. Hold your baby. And when you've got their weight, just lift the top ring and you will feel things start to slacken. And then you can continue. You can take it all the way off if you want, or at this point, you can release your baby from the fabric and lift them out and you're free. Okay, so this is my top technique for when your baby has fallen asleep and you want to maneuver your baby into the sling without waking them up. Okay, really, really useful and very difficult to do with any other type of sling other than a ring sling. So this is really the reason why I love ring slings so much. So my baby has dozed off and my arms are getting tired, but I know that if I put my baby down, they're going to wake up, because that's what babies do. So it's really important that whatever movement you were doing to get your baby to sleep, you don't stop doing it. Because what can happen, especially if you're a little bit new to slings, is that you might freeze up. And as you start to maneuver the fabric around you, you're a little bit nervous and you're a little bit tense, and our babies pick up on that straight away. So we're just going to carry on with the patting or the swinging or the swaying or the rocking or the jiggling or whatever it was we were doing. And we're going to maneuver our baby into a position in front of our body. Okay, and then holding your baby, you're going to pick up your sling. So before you put the sling on, you're just going to check that we've still got that lovely gathered, not twisted shape. And I'm just going to move my baby's legs around my body so that I can provide that knee to knee support, and my baby's where he needs to be. and I'm going to go into my sling. So I want the rings on this shoulder. So that means that I need to put my arm and my head through the sling. Now my baby's still underneath, and that's fine. So I'm going to take the tail over here. I'm still rocking, I'm still swaying. I'm going to bring the fabric down over my baby, and I'm going to spread the rings on my shoulder and just spend a little bit of time thinking about bringing that edge, that green edge, down securely and taking it under one knee and under the other knee, and then pushing it up between us. And your baby may stir, your baby may whimper, your baby may be waking up. So we just stop and we just carry on doing whatever it is that we're doing to get our baby to settle again. And we're going to make sure that your baby's arms up, and then bring the fabric around you. So up under your own arm, over a boob, and across your baby's back. And we're not going to get stressed, and we're going to take our time. It's just a cuddle, nothing to see here. And you're going to move the fabric towards the rings and just start to tighten, just as we did before. So I'm going to bring the slack towards the ring and then pull the fabric through so that it's parallel with the fabric underneath. So I'm not pulling this way or this way or this way, but actually corresponding to the direction the fabric's coming from. And you will find that you can tighten it up all the way through. So moving the slack, holding it here, and then pulling the slack through the rings. And you may find, because you started with the baby in your arms and you've not had the freedom to adjust the sling quite perfectly on your body before you put the baby in, you may find that the rings end up a little lower, or that it's not quite as comfortable on your neck as it would be if you'd started with the sling on. But you know what? With practice and time, you will be able to adjust that. So we always do our checks. Do I feel hands-free? Am I confident that my baby's not going anywhere? When I lean forward, does my baby move? Not too much. Is my baby's face clear? Head up, close enough to kiss. One smooth layer of fabric across a curved spine. Support which runs knee to knee. Fabric going up between me and my baby, so my baby's sitting on a pouch with a nice pelvic tuck, which is going to keep his airway clear. And do I feel comfortable? Is anything digging in? Do I need to make any adjustments at the back? Am I okay here? I'm fine. So my baby is now in a sling without having put my baby down. So I'm going to show you now how to use the same sling in the same configuration with a slightly older baby for an offside hip carry. So I'll just get my other doll. Oof. So this is a baby who is maybe a bit older, not much necessarily. As long as they've got a little bit more head control, you can try a slightly different carry. So the sling is exactly the same. I'm just going to make sure that my rings are nice and high again because they've come down. And again, I'm going to go under the fabric, take my baby's legs and bring him into a seated hip position. So this tends to be how we hold our babies a lot of the time. And if you don't use a sling, you'll find that you're throwing your hip out to the side, which over time is really bad for your back. But I'm going to show you how you can be completely straight and square, fantastic posture, and still have your baby on the hip. Really good for babies that want to be a little bit more forward facing and a little bit more involved in the world. So again, my baby is sitting on the fabric, front and back. So we have knee to knee support and the fabric's actually going up underneath his bottom. And from here, I'm going to find my top edge again and just scooch it over my baby's bottom, making sure that I'm coming up under my own arm and then up over my baby. Now, if your baby is still a bit young, you might want to be here so that the fabric's going over both of their shoulders. For a slightly older baby, they can have an arm out. They can even have 2 arms out, provided they've got absolutely full head control. So if we're dealing with a toddler, this is ideal. But let's say that my baby is maybe 5 months old, something like that, not quite sitting. I might want to still have arms in for now, or maybe 1 arm in, 1 arm out. Let's do that. So again, I've still got a lot of loose fabric, and what I'm going to do is send all the slack round my back, finding where it's loose, and pull the slack towards my tightening system, which in this case is the rings. And let's start with the underneath layers. So I'm going to find my green and tighten that up first. Blue's feeling a little bit wobbly, so I'm going to pull that through. And finally, don't get your hair caught in the rings. Finally, oh, this is interesting. So sometimes when you tighten one part, you'll find another part will bobble up at the rings. Really clear signal that that's the bit to pull through next. So can you see how I could see that I had some slack there? It came up through the rings and I was able to just tighten it there. So my baby's ended up with both arms out. Let's assume that's fine. So we're going to think about our checks. Do I feel able to let go? Do I feel that my baby is supported for gravity and for flop? If I lean, does my baby come with me? Again, if you have a very young baby, you're going to need to carry on supporting their head. If you have an older baby, this is completely fine. So can I see my baby's face? Are they nice and high, close enough to kiss? 1 smooth layer of fabric across the back, not loads of it bunched up and hardly anything underneath. Most of the fabric under their bottom or even up between us. So my baby, I can feel that my baby is sitting in a pouch. There's no way this baby can fall through. Is my baby supported knee to knee? Full wide support. And are their feet free? So you will find this happens quite a lot. Your baby's foot will end up tucked up, but actually the sling is coming through at the level of my baby's knee here. What we don't really want is our entire baby's foot up there. They need to have their feet free. My baby can have their hand up and in or out like an extra from Greece. If you have a very curious baby who wants to be forward facing, it's very difficult to get a safe, secure, ergonomically respectful forward facing position in a sling. This is a lovely compromise. My baby can join in the conversation, be part of the scene. If your baby falls asleep, you might decide that you want to just bring up the fabric a little higher and tighten up at the ring to give your baby just that safe, secure position to sleep in. Again, the tension, pull this down a little bit to make it more comfortable. The tension is going across the apex of my shoulder, not up by my neck. Okay, so I really hope you found this helpful. This is my favourite sling. I just find it really versatile. As a doula, this is the sling that's in my bag when I go to visit people postnatally. This is the thing that you'll see all over my social media with my little buddies in it. So if the mum needs to have a break or I'm helping around the house or whatever and I've got the baby, this is the sling that I will automatically go to. So quick, so easy. Enjoy.